John here. So in yesterday's video I showed you a way to practice that makes technique practice a bit more interesting. Basically you decide what you want to play and then you challenge yourself to get through it without making even a single mistake. So if you haven't checked that video out, I'm going to link it here. And for this video I just want to show you how you can apply this to learning scale shapes, and we're going to do this with another practice technique that I like. I've seen this called a pyramid, but I kind of like the name +1. And you're going to see very soon what I mean by that. And we're going to apply it to this scale shape. So this is basically a Mixolydian pentatonic, or sometimes called a dominant pentatonic, even though there's another pentatonic scale that has the same name. It's used by a lot of people like Eric Johnson, Steve Morse, and Jan Hammer, and all kinds of different good players. It's basically like a minor pentatonic with a major third. So you have this, the formula would be 1, 3, 4, 5, flat 7. And what sticks out here is that compared to a normal pentatonic scale, you get this half step, which gives it a very distinctive and cool sound here between the fourth and the major third. That's the scale, and if you want to learn all 5 positions, you can just Google this scale basically. So this lesson's going to be very low on tabs, so no links to Patreon or anything like that. And the actual practice technique is this. You pick up the scale shape that you want to learn, then just play through it so you get a fairly decent idea of what you're trying to practice. And then we're going to start from the lowest pitch, and I'm just going to alternate pick this. You could do legato or whatever, but I'm just going to alternate pick, start with a downstroke, and then I'm going to add one note every time. So that's why I call it +1. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 3, 2. So I'm always going up one extra note. Right, and you do that until you get to the very top of the scale. And once you've done that, you want to do the same thing but from the top note. So, right. So I'm going to play through that now once here and show you what I mean. And the challenge here then is to get through this with all good notes, very solid, no mistakes at all allowed. So you might want to do this at a slightly slower pace than you think, because as you get into this, it actually starts getting a bit nerve-wracking when you've almost added all the notes, and then you don't really want to start over again. So, here we go. And you can do this with a metronome if you want, or just what I did here. And as you notice, I sped up a little bit during when I added more notes. Not really recommended, so in case you make a mistake. So again, you're just focusing on really full tone and a good sound. That's what I focus on at least. And again, the challenge is to get through it without making any mistakes. So what this does, it makes you listen more than usual, because if you just sit there and be like, yeah, whatever, if I make a mistake, who cares? It's very easy to start overlooking these, maybe string crossings that are not as clean. And if you actually would record yourself, you might notice that, oh shit, I make the same mistakes at the same places, which means that you've sort of started to ingrain that into your playing, which is a very bad thing. So it's very, very important to listen all the time when you practice. So that said, I'm going to start here on the top and hope I get through it. got lucky here, and actually it's not really luck, it's just about choosing the correct tempo. And you'll find pretty quickly if the tempo you choose is too high for whatever thing you're practicing. So that's all a big learning thing, right? So it's probably might be one of the most important things to learn about yourself, because if you want to progress as quickly as possible, you really want to avoid making mistakes as you practice something that you're anything repetitive, basically, which you're trying to get into your muscle memory. You don't want to teach your body the wrong thing. Once you've done all this stuff, it's fine to try to do it faster, but again, I've said this before, what's worked best for me and for my students is to keep the slow and steady practice with full control to 80-90% of the time, and then the last 10 to 20% try to go faster and don't really mind if you make some mistakes, because yes, you really need to try to do it faster as well, but I think a lot of people tend to only want to do that, and I don't think that's the best way forward. That's at least what's worked the best for me. And when you do this, you really ingrain the scale shape as well, because you keep adding notes, so you're going over the same thing several times, but with a slight twist every time. So you really need to be engaged, right? Because it would also be a mistake if I go like, and then all of a sudden I go too far because I didn't go to that note. That would also be a mistake in this type of practicing. So you want to be really on the ball here and focus when you do it. And it might look like nothing, and then like, well, that doesn't seem so hard. But try it yourself on anything that you've tried learning. If you, whatever scale shape there might be, it doesn't matter if it's a 2-note per string or 3-note per string or whatever. It can be an arpeggio, whatever. But do this +1 type of practice where you add a note every time you get up the scale, and then you do the same thing when you start at the top and go down. And I'm 100% sure that you're gonna feel way more comfortable with that scale shape once you're done with it. Back in the day, I used to have real issues with fast alternate picking when it came to 2 notes per string. I was fine with 3 notes per string, but the 2 note per string thing was a bit harder to crack. So if you struggle with fast alternate picking as well, and you don't know what to practice or for how long, I've created the perfect solution for you in the form of the Pentatonic Picking Power Book. So in this book, you'll find a daily workout that will not only help your pentatonic picking, but will also upgrade your overall alternate picking technique. So it contains basically the same exercises I use myself to develop my picking abilities, as well as numerous students over the years that I've given the same exercise to with great results. So I know these exercises work as long as you put in the work. So it's not a quick solution or quick fix. It will still take a lot of work, but at least you have a very easy to follow routine. So if you're up for a big alternate picking upgrade in 2024, I cannot think of a better start. It's $9 and I think it's very underpriced, but I did it that way just so as many people as possible could be helped by this. So check that out.